Hey guys, this is Comic-Uno, and today I'm doing Comic-Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is a show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. So in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week for a chance to be featured. I also do have a comic book Kickstarter going on right now for The Comic Shop. It's based on a web show. It's kind of like an Abbott Elementary styled show where we get to see a Black-owned comic book store and what they go through on a daily basis. So go check out the comic book tie-in with great creators like Stephanie Williams, Cody Ziegler, Joe Illidge. It's a great title. Also, I'll be in New York Comic Con this week, Artist Alley L21. So if you want to go say hi, check out some of the comic books, go to New York Comic Con and go to Artist Alley. Now let's jump into this week's comics. There is so many books, and for you guys, I read them all because there were so many really big books this week, so I didn't want to miss out. Usually I don't review my books during the New York Comic Con week because it is so crazy, but I did want to review it this week because DCKO, you know, there was a lot of Absolute Batman, there was a lot of books coming out, the start of X-Men and Revelations as well, or Age of Revelation. But let's jump in. Number 17, I believe. I had 17 books. Yes, number 17 for me was World of Revelations issue 1, starting with this X-Men Age of Revelations situation. The problem with anthologies is that you have to really either enjoy one short story or multiple short stories to make it feel like it is a worthwhile book. For me, I didn't really like any of the three, even though there are characters I do like Franklin and Billy. I just couldn't get into this one. The beginning in particular, making it more like a light novel style, I didn't think was the way to go for it. So for me, this was the weakest one of the X-Men titles. Moving on to number 16, which is another Marvel book, and that is Return to Planet Hulk issue 1. This just felt like it wasn't necessary. I don't think we needed a one-shot. It was very action-heavy, and it's not tying into the other Hulk book that's coming out. It's just more like, hey, here's this one-shot. If you liked Planet Hulk, and if you never read Planet Hulk, we're gonna sell you the trade. That way you could go check it out. There wasn't anything much for me here, for me personally as a Hulk fan, but I'm also not a hardcore Planet Hulk fan, so that maybe it's also just my fandom of Hulk. So overall, giving that one 2 stars, and that is number 16. And I gave the World of Revelations book 1.5 stars. I don't remember if I mentioned that. Moving on to number 15, which is Longshots issue 1. I'm disappointed with this because I thought this was going to be the one I enjoyed the most this week because I like Hellcat a lot and I enjoyed the dynamic of the different characters here, like Kraven and Hellcat. Like, when would you see those characters together? I think Rhino was in here as well. But it wasn't really about the ensemble. It was more about setting up for the ensemble, even though this is not a very long series. So it's like, oh, I just want to see them. You have to love the world, and so far I haven't really been convinced to love the world. I don't really like Mojo. That was definitely more of a focus of this issue as well. It just didn't do it for me as much as I thought it would, but I will say this had the stronger artwork compared to some of the other titles, which honestly I thought had kind of weaker interiors. So giving that one 2.5 stars, and then is number 15. Moving on to number 14, another X-Men Revelations book. Obviously, I didn't love the Revelations titles, and that is Binary issue 1. This one I did get on whim. I wasn't initially going to pick it up because it was such a big haul for this week. I think my haul cost like $120 something, especially with the blind bag. So it was also just hefty. You kind of have to pick and choose. And with Binary, the reason I picked it up was I like the idea of Captain Marvel being in the mix and having the Phoenix Force. I do think this was one of the stronger X-Men Revelation books because it had that interesting concept, but you don't really get into her head that much. Like, you try, you scratch the surface, but it doesn't really feel like it's going anywhere, right? That's the biggest problem with this whole event, is that it's a 2-3 issue miniseries, and then it's not going to really affect anything. And I don't think they are strong enough one-shots to stand alone, and that's why I felt for most of these issues. So giving that one 2.5 stars, and that is number 14. Moving on to number 13, a new indie book, and this is from Cullen Bunn, and this is Deluge, issue 1. I read the first chapter, I would say, of it in their San Diego Comic-Con series preview book. So I was like, let me go check it out. I like Cullen Bunn's writing, and I liked it. I thought it was interesting to introduce all these girls in this prison, and they get stuck in this kind of water situation. It's definitely a build-up to get to the exciting incident, but I like the way they introduced the characters. I will say I don't know if there was anything exciting in this issue, like when you have 17 books, and if I have 17 books in that next month, am I going to pick up issue 2? I don't think so. But if I had about 10 or 9 and I needed to add another title, I would want to see where issue 2 goes. So kind of middle of the road for me. Giving that one 3 stars, and that is number 13. Moving on to number 12, which is Green Lantern Corps issue 9. I liked the aftermath of John Stewart, but I also didn't like the aftermath of John Stewart. I think they try their hardest to make John a moment in this issue where it's like, okay, we kind of have to leave John behind because we have to deal with this other stuff. John would understand. But then there's another part of me is like, no, wouldn't this whole issue be about trying to find John again? And then also on the flip side, you find John by the end of the issue, so whatever happened in that last issue doesn't really feel like it was very lengthy. But I like the moments in here. I like this kind of larger than life story they're building. I just feel like some of the pieces, because it's such a big event, didn't quite fit together with this issue. And I also feel like the artwork could be a little stronger here. So giving that 3 stars, and that is that was number 12. Moving on to number 11, the highest X-Men Revelations book, and that is Laura Kinney, Sabretooth, issue 1. The reason this is a little lower, honestly, is the art. I felt like some of the facial expressions were really smudgy, but I thought the concept was interesting, seeing Laura be Sabretooth and her not have the greatest relationship with her family, and all while you're kind of learning how she became Sabretooth and created this other side of her family. This, for me, is what you should do with a one-shot that is out of world, that's probably not going to go anywhere after, and I think this did a better job at that, but like I said, the artwork just wasn't as strong as the story, and for me, there still wasn't a hook where I'm like, I need issue 2. I was just like, this is better than the other issues, but I don't know if I am on the edge of my seat to find out what happens next. So overall, giving that one 3 stars, and that was number 11. Moving on to number 10, which is The Amazing Spider-Man Torn issue 1. This is kind of your Lost Episodes issue. He's revisiting the college days of Spider-Man. I like the horror element. I enjoyed this girl becoming like this goblin creature by the end, but if you're looking to trim down the list here, I don't think this is like a must buy, but I thought the artwork was solid. If you're a Spider-Man fan, you're gonna have a fun enough time with it. And on the fence if I'll get issue 2, but I probably will get issue 2 because of the cliffhanger and the villain that they introduced. Moving on to number 9, which is Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum issue 3. I will say I didn't really remember what happened last issue, so I was a little lost for a few pages of like, that's Superboy? Wait, that's Clark? He's young? I don't remember that. And then like you figure out as the issue goes on that it's like, oh yeah, that is Clark. It was the Kryptonite. Cool. And it was a fun issue with Billy and Clark teaming up, right? And them being kids and kind of relating to that. I mean, every issue is just a different Kryptonite. Like if that's what you're looking for every issue, next one's gonna be like in his imagination. But I'm having fun with that. I like that every issue has kind of reinvented itself, even though it's more of a serialized comic. It's not gonna make this big story about Superman, but I think this is a fun way to do a serialized kind of Twilight Zone style series with Superman. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Marian Heretic issue 1. I really like the concept of this issue where we get to see this woman try to figure out her role within the Catholic religion as a nun. There's witches involved and Wicca involved all at the same time, and it's a fun action issue that challenges religion and challenges women's role in religion. But I'll also say it is very heavy on theme. I don't know if the characters drew me as much, but I like the theme enough to most likely pick up issue 2. We'll see what type of week it is. So giving that 3.5 stars. Also, the artwork was really solid for that action as well. Moving on to number 7, which is the Mary Sue issue 1. I had a really good time with this. I liked that this girl was into fandom and we got to learn more about her disconnect to reality because of it. And now this character that's from her fan fiction comes to life and is going to play a role in her reality. It was a fun introduction. You got into the characters enough. The artwork was great by Lisa Sturl. The coloring was really great as this Mary Sue character comes to life. You're intrigued enough by this relationship between our main character and her old friend who's like now her bully. So I think it's set up definitely enough stuff for me to be intrigued by that next issue. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that was number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Absolute Batman issue 13. This was a really solid issue. If you like Catwoman, I like Catwoman. I love the tension between Bruce and Catwoman. Just seeing what their relationship is like. They honestly also kind of like showcase some more sexy scenes that you would expect from a DC comic that's not like a red band book or anything, so I thought they did a good job with that. I will say, once again, it is more of a setup issue though. You're getting towards this bigger battle with the Bane stuff, Batman kind of fighting against Gotham in that way. In that regard, it's a little lower because it's not like the big issue and it still very much feels like a setup, but I like the character moments in here. And I will say, if you're reading this in trade, I think you're probably getting like hit after hit. It's just, monthly, you have to wait every month to be like, okay, what's gonna happen next? And it does tend to be a little bit of a slow burn. So giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 6. Now, the moment we have been waiting for, and yeah, it made it number 5. I thought it was gonna be a little higher, but it did make it to the top 5, and that is DCKO. So first we're gonna open up 5 blind bags. First, I'll show you also the cover I got just as my reading copy, which is the Daniel Warren Johnson cover. So there you go. And then we'll talk about the book itself. But I did pre-open the bags, but I don't know what's in them. I didn't look at them. I just didn't want to use a scissor for like 10 minutes while I was on camera. So let's start with the first one. I don't usually have much luck with these. I usually get like 10 cover A's, but let's see if I got 10 cover A's here. They're all foil, so we could look forward to that at least. All right. Even though I pre-opened these, they're still a little hard to get out. All right, this one is a foil cover. I think of cover A. I'm pretty sure this is cover A. So we did get that cover A variant. I also wish there was like a check mark of all the different covers you could get. They don't have that with this. I don't even know which one's the rare cover for this. All right, so we got cover A. Yeah. Let's see if we get another cover A. Again, I got 5. So the ratio should be something here. All right. Next up is the... Okay, we got a Dark Side cover. I think this is the Mark Spears cover. That's cool. All right, and you guys in the comments are gonna have to tell me if there's any rare covers here, because I tried looking it up, and at least Batman, you're like, you got a gold cover. That's how you know it's rare. I don't know for this one. I think there's like a 1 out of 25 incentive or something. But at least right now we have different covers. That I do like. Well, I spoke too soon. Cover A, here we are. So 2 cover A's, 1 Dark Side. Next up, will it be cover A? Let's see. Let's find out. All right. It is not cover A. Okay, we got Wonder Woman and Power Girl. That's cool. I like that one. All right, one last one. Let's see if I'm lucky to get a golden cover that doesn't exist. All right, let's see. No cover A. That's almost. I'm just hoping for a different cover. Okay, I got the Dan Mora cover. I'm actually pretty happy with my pulls here. I wanted to get the Dan Mora regular cover, so I'm actually happy. I'm pretty happy with my pulls. So good stuff there. That's my 5 pulls. So let's talk about the comic now, DCKO. I like the issue, but I will say it's very much issue 0 to get to the bigger stuff, right? If you've been following DCKO's coverage, you already know what the event's about, right? It's them coming together trying to fight Darkseid. A lot of this issue is trying to tell you guys this is what the event's about. If you've been reading Superman, a lot of the stuff in this issue is kind of stuff that you already knew from Superman. And it does feel a little cluttered at moments. Like there's also a lot being explained to you at that time, but I like that this event feels larger than life. I enjoyed the themes that were tied together where Superman doesn't like playing games because he doesn't want to be the one to just win. I think there is a foreshadowing, especially for Batman. He gets stabbed and it seems like he dies, maybe, but obviously this is DC Comics. I don't think Batman dies and he's gonna be in his regular series, but he does get stabbed and the Joker is a part of that. And they do foreshadow that Wonder Woman and Superman are not going to win this thing, which I wanted. I didn't want the Trinity to win because you could have a regular event by doing that. So I was happy by that, and I'm curious to see who will win. There's definitely also a foreshadowing of maybe these villains will win. What does that mean? They could kind of shape this world into whatever they want once they defeat Darkseid. So there's a lot of interesting things here. There's even some teases of who's teaming up with Darkseid, maybe Booster Gold. So I liked a lot of stuff here. I just wanted a little tiny bit more because I do feel like the prelude issues were a little bit cleaner. I also think that has to do with artwork was a little bogged down, but very excited to see where it's going to go, and especially excited for December to see the bracket. Like, I want to see the bracket. And I was kind of expecting a little bit more from the bracket from this issue that we didn't really get. They're just introducing the bracket. So giving that one 3.5 stars, and then it's number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Court of the Round Table issue 2. This one was just a lot of fun, and I feel like Tom Taylor does a really good job at building character. This is a very mythos-driven series about swords, but this issue does a good job at introducing this grandma that knows more than you would think she knows, and it makes it a big scene for you to learn more about that character that's connected to the grandma. You get to really see these characters connect to their sword, and that's how you want to do a mythos building issue and also kind of build this mystery. So I just think it did a good job at what it was trying to go for. So giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, and that is Strange Tales issue 1. I am a huge fan of Nico. I love Carolina. I like Billy and Teddy. Have an issue where they get to all play D&D. It's just a fun book. Bailey's art fits so well for this. Jeremy's writing understands these characters really well. It feels like, honestly, a webcomic, webtoon, actually in a floppy book, which I really like. We don't get to see these type of books very often, like more geared to YA, and I like we're seeing this book kind of possible, and I enjoy Nico's voice. I enjoy Scarlet Witch. I'm not a huge D&D fan, so I didn't get as many of the references there, but also was not bogged down by the D&D fun of it. You don't have to be a fan to kind of just enjoy the ride. So if you like these characters, you're gonna really enjoy this one. It's just a fun book. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, speaking of, if you are a big fan of this character, I think you'll really like this issue, and that is Supergirl issue 6. I've been a big Supergirl fan since I was a kid. It's a character that was a gateway for me to get into DC Comics as someone who grew up liking Marvel a little bit more. Supergirl has such an interesting history with so many different versions of her character, with the Silver Age version, the Linda Danvers stuff, the Red Lantern stuff, even now with the Woman of Tomorrow version of the character. And I think this book collides her Silver Age optimism with some of her darker side of the character because she remembers Krypton dying. And you get to see that Red Lantern history here too, all while you're bringing her other supporting cast members to help her out. It just was a really fun way to use Halloween and a one-shot style storytelling to tell a bigger story about Supergirl and her history and her as a character in general. And I like this balancing act of, like, she doesn't have to be completely good or completely bad. She could kind of be a middle ground character. So giving that one 4 stars, and that is my number 2 pick. Moving on to number 1, which was honestly a really easy pick for me this week, and that is Everything Dead and Dying issue 2. This book is so good. If you're not reading it and you like zombies and horror, you need to pick up this book. This issue does such a good job, and it honestly reminds me a lot of The Walking Dead. It's like a reverse version of The Walking Dead, someone who wants to be alone and gets to hang out with the zombies, and you get to see what his life was before. You thought he had the perfect life with his husband and with his daughter, and you find out he was a really bad husband. He was not a good partner, and now he has to deal with his partner being trapped. His partner is like, hey, I'm tired of you. I can't stand you. You make me feel trapped in the living world. So imagine now that he's dead, what's going on, and you could tell that the main character feels sorry for it, and that's why he's kind of doing all this stuff. And then the end, the cliffhanger is that the husband gets shot. He's most likely dead now. And you're like, damn, this is only issue 2, right? And you're on this emotional roller coaster with great art, great character work, great ambiance. It's just such a great series. I really like this issue a lot. Can't say enough about it. Giving this one 4.5 stars. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite book of the week was in the comments below. Also, last week's viewer pick of the week was Cheshire and Cheetah, and here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.